everybody, welcome back to the Aperture Assassin channel. I'm your host, Liam Douglas, and in this video, I'm going to be asking, what the hell, Nikon? And let me explain. I know I'm probably going to get some hate mail for this or some nasty comments in the comment feed below for this video, but that's all right. Go ahead and throw them at me. I don't care. I welcome them. I always welcome debate and discussion. But the reason why I'm titling this video What I Did is Nikon has been bleeding cash for a few years now, and 2020 has been no different. Back in May of this year, Nikon released their financials for 2020, and it wasn't good. They laid off 700 people in Thailand and Laos. But here are the stats of their money issues from Petapixel. And this is an article Petapixel posted back at the end of May of this year. Nikon as a whole reported $5.48 billion in revenue, which represents a 16.6% drop year over year. Operating profit came in at $62 million for 2020, an even more severe drop of almost 92% compared to last year's report. The imaging business reported revenues of $2.09 billion, which represents a drop of the 23.7% compared to last year's results. Operating profit for imaging was in the deep negative, posting a loss of $158.6 million for 2020. That's a drop of almost $325 million compared to last year, when Nikon posted positive profit of nearly $210 million. And what has Nikon been doing when it comes to their camera division? Well, not the smartest moves for a camera company. The D6, in my opinion, is a failure. And I'm not a Nikon hater, so you guys can go ahead and flame me in the comments if you want to. I'm not a Nikon hater. I hate to see this happening to Nikon because, like Canon, they've been around for over a century. And the more camera manufacturers we have, the more competition we have, the better it is for us as consumers and photographers. But the D6, let's be honest, it was a failure. I mean, they should have called it the D5S. It was only an incremental update on the original D5. The sensor's the same. They went with Xpeed 6 processors over the Xpeed 5, increased the frames per second by 2 frames, and they made some other minor tweaks, but that was pretty much it. Now this year, with Nikon's latest announcement, they announced the Z6 II and the Z7 II. So Mark II of the original Nikon Z6 and Z7, which were Nikon's first two mirrorless full-frame cameras that they announced in the fall of 2018. So what did they do in the Z6 and Z7 Mark II? Not a whole lot. They're not really innovating. They've done nothing major in either one of these bodies. I mean, Sony's been dominating the market in mirrorless full frame for years now, and they still keep innovating their cameras. Canon started slow as well. I'm a Canon shooter and a Fuji shooter. Canon started out slow with the EOS R at the end of 2018, and then they released the RP, a less expensive entry-level mirrorless full frame, in early 2019. They made some of the same mistakes that Nikon did with having a single SD card slot, but unlike Nikon, Canon at least released a professional battery grip for the EOS R. Now, they didn't release one for the RP, but third-party manufacturers have stepped in and released one for the RP. I have one, and it works halfway decent. It does have some issues, but overall, it does work. Now, Canon, however, has been innovating ever since late 2018 when they announced the EOS R. They released the EOS RP, like I said, in early 2019. They've released the EOS RA, which is their astrophotography-centric full-frame mirrorless camera. So they have those two that came out after the R. So they've got 3 bodies on the market. Well, they did. Now Canon has 5 bodies on the market. Now, at the time when Canon released the EOS R and RP, the Sony fanboys and girls were like, oh, Canon's too little, too late. They're dead. They're done. They're going to be going the way of the dodo bird. But I kept telling everybody in person, as well as on my weekly photography podcast, that Canon was just getting warmed up and they would hit the ground running and gain on Sony within 18 to 24 months. I predicted, and I said it multiple times. If you've listened to my podcast or not, it's the Liam Photography Podcast. I drop new episodes every Sunday and Thursday. I said numerous times on there, and then I even spoke with a senior Canon CPS member at Imaging USA in early 2019. And although he couldn't divulge anything specific, because he works for Canon, he did wink at me and say, wait till the world sees what we have coming. It will blow their minds. And then look what happened. Enter summer 2020, 18 months from the announcement of the EOS R, and Canon officially releases their next foray into the mirrorless full frame market. I started to say medium format. I apologize. With the EOS R5 and R6. Now, these two bodies are huge upgrades from the EOS R and RP. They didn't just do an EOS R Mark II and RP Mark II and make an incremental change. No, Canon went crazy with these new bodies. They went with new sensors. They went with new processors. They went with new hardware architecture internally. The design of the physical body stayed very much the same, but most everything on the inside changed. They went with the EOS R having a maximum frames per second of 3 to 5, and that was being conservative. A lot of people in real world tests said they only got 1.5 to 3 frames if they were lucky. That with the EOS R5 and R6, Canon came out with 10 frames per second mechanical shutter, 20 frames per second electronic shutter, directly in response to Sony with the A9 II having 20 frames per second with the electronic shutter. Now, additionally, Canon got rid of the crop on 4K video. Now the 4K video is full width of the 35 millimeter equivalent sensor, no cropping at all. And the EOS R5, they offer 8K video, which had some issues at first with fake overheating, but has been improved dramatically with a recent firmware update. The EOS R5 can also shoot 4K HQ or high quality. Now, for the R6, 4K uncropped. Both models, as I said, have 10 frames per second mechanical, 20 frames per second electronic shutter, totally blowing Nikon out of the water and directly competing with Sony, giving Sony a run for its money. Canon offered the battery grip with the R, and like I said a minute ago, they offered the battery grip for the R. Now, with the EOS R5 and R6, they came out with one vertical battery grip that fits both bodies. Because the other big change Canon made with the EOS R5 and R6 is both bodies take the same battery. The LPEH6N or something like that. And I apologize. I'll put the correct termination in a text overlay on this video. But they had the original LPE6N, and now they got the LP6NH battery for the R5 and R6. And both cameras are backwards compatible with the previous 6 batteries. The LPE6 batteries from the 5D DSLRs, the 6D DSLRs, the 7D Mark II, the 80D, the 90D, those all take that same LPEN6 battery, which is huge for us as consumers. We don't have to keep buying batteries all the time. When they released the EOS R and the RP, they gave the R the LPEN6 battery, but they gave the RP the E17, which is the same tiny little battery that they put in the SL3. And I was really disappointed in that, but what are you going to do? But this year with the R5 and R6, same battery in both cameras, same battery grip for both cameras. Now, if you're a professional studio, they upped it one more and released a second battery grip that they call the file transfer device. It has a alphanumeric designation, WFT or something like that, or WFP, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, all it really matters is it's a battery grip for the EOS R5 that allow you to have 2 batteries in it, just like the regular battery grip for the R5 and the R6. Now, this grip is only compatible with the R5, but in addition to giving you all the functionality of a battery grip with 2 batteries inside and the shutter and dials and all that for vertical shooting. They also gave it a LAN port, which Canon has never done before in any cameras besides their 1D high-end sport DSLRs. So now if you have an EOS R5 and you want to shell out $1,000 for this special battery grip, you can not only have 2 batteries in the grip, but you can have a LAN port, enhanced Wi-Fi capabilities, and a bunch of other stuff. It can do secure FTP for image transfers and all of that. But they made major strides from their first 2 mirrorless full-frame bodies. And Nikon hasn't done that. Yeah, they released the Z5. Which is a more entry-level full-frame body, but nothing major going on there. Now, Nikon, you know, they gave us in the Z6 II and the Z7 II dual memory card slots. Great. You should have had that in the first generation. Battery grip. Great. You should have had that in the first generation. The same process, the same sensor, but slightly newer processors, I believe, or maybe it is the same processors, actually. And I might be mixing the D6 up with the Z6 and Z7. But it's all just incremental changes. So why call them the Z6 and Z7 Mark II when they're only an incremental upgrade? They should have just called them the Z6S and Z7S, to be honest. But I'm not sure at this point if there's a way that Nikon can bounce back. Do they need a new CEO, a new vision and direction for the camera division? I can't say for certain because I'm not an executive. I'm not an experienced CEO or MBA, but I can tell you this. If Nikon doesn't get their act together, they are liable to go the way of the dinosaur. And it really breaks my heart. You know, they're going to end up falling on the wayside like Olympus did when they announced earlier this year that they were ending their camera division. And they sold their camera division off to JIP, Japanese Industrial Products, which is probably going to be a bad thing because Sony sold off their VAIO laptop division to JIP, and that ended up being a complete disaster, and VAIO laptops went down the tubes. They were high-quality laptops. After JIP took over, they were just useless garbage. But what are your thoughts on Nikon? Is there a way they can bounce back? Is there a way they can recover and become profitable again? Or is it, you know, the reading in the tea leaves that they're on their last legs? They're gasping for air, and it's just a matter of how soon they're going to be put out of their misery. But like I said, leave your comments below. I'd really appreciate that. Please subscribe, like, and share this video, and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified when the next video drops, and I will see you next time.